You know the feeling, you share your dream, your vision, your goal, and instead of support, you're met with silence, doubt, or even laughter. They tell you it's impossible. They say you don't have what it takes, and slowly their voices start to echo in your own head. Maybe they're right, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm foolish for even trying. But here's the truth most people will never tell you. Greatness is almost always born in isolation. The world doesn't believe in you at the beginning. The world doesn't clap when you start. The applause only comes after you've finished, after you've proven what they said was impossible. And that is why the most important decision you will ever make is this. Keep going, even if nobody believes in you. Think about it. Every breakthrough in history, every innovation, every story of triumph started with one person facing a wall of disbelief. Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Walt Disney was fired because he supposedly lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. If they had listened, if they had allowed the disbelief of others to dictate their actions, we would never know their names. What separates them from the countless others who gave up isn't talent, it isn't luck, it is an unshakable decision to keep moving forward when the world doubted them. The truth is, no one will believe in you until you give them a reason to. People trust results, not dreams. They respect proof, not potential. That's why you can't wait for validation. If you're waiting for the world to cheer you on, you'll be waiting forever. The belief has to start inside you. When everyone else says no, you must whisper yes. When they laugh, you must keep building. When they walk away, you must keep walking, because in the end, their doubt is not your destiny. Your persistence is. A young man once dreamed of creating a business that would revolutionize the way people lived. He told his family, his friends, and his peers. They laughed at him. They told him to be realistic, to get a safe job, to stop dreaming, but he refused to listen. He worked quietly, in obscurity, with no recognition and no support. Years passed. The same people who once mocked him now point to him as a genius, a visionary. What changed? Not them, him. His decision to keep going when nobody believed. That is the law of perseverance. Mockery always comes before respect. Here's the reality you must understand. Most people won't believe in you, not because you can't achieve your dream, but because they could never achieve it themselves. Their disbelief is not a reflection of your potential, it's a projection of their own limitations. They measure your vision against their fears, not against your possibilities. And if you let their doubts take root in your mind, you will carry their failures as your own. Don't do it. Their story is not your story. Their limits are not your limits. You must build a shield of persistence so strong that their disbelief bounces off you like rain against stone. But persistence is not glamorous. It means showing up when nobody notices. It means working in silence, with no recognition, no applause, no reward. It means pouring your effort into something the world has already written off, and that is why most people quit. They crave validation. They want someone to tell them they're on the right track. But here's the truth, you don't need anyone's permission to succeed. You don't need a cheerleader, a round of applause, or even understanding. You need only one thing, the will to keep going. Picture a runner alone on a track. The stadium is empty. No crowd, no cameras, no cheering voice. The only sound is the rhythm of his breath, the pounding of his feet, the whisper of his own doubts. That is the reality of chasing a dream. Success is not built in the spotlight. It is forged in silence when no one is watching, when no one cares, when no one believes. The finish line is not one in front of the crowd. It is one in the lonely miles when you wanted to quit, but kept moving forward. Every person who ever made it faced this trial. Steve Jobs was removed from the very company he founded, branded as a failure, dismissed as irrelevant. Did he give up? No. He kept going, and years later, he returned to redefine the world of technology. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He could have stopped right there, believed the voices that said he wasn't good enough, but he didn't. He kept going. Today, his name is synonymous with greatness. What do these stories teach us? That disbelief is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning. The truth is, disbelief is fuel if you choose to see it that way. Every you can't can become your reason to show that you can. Every laugh, every dismissal, every rejection can ignite your determination. The people who doubted you today will be the ones telling your story tomorrow, but only if you keep going. The path will not be easy. The nights will be long, the silence will feel heavy, the loneliness will sting, but the weight you carry in obscurity will become the crown you wear in victory. So what do you do when nobody believes in you? You believe anyway. You keep building, you keep climbing, you keep walking, one step at a time, one day at a time. You drown out the noise of their doubt with the drumbeat of your persistence, because in the end it is not their disbelief that defines your destiny. It is your refusal to stop. They won't understand you at first. They won't see what you see. They will question why you work late into the night, why you sacrifice comfort, why you keep pouring yourself into something that gives you no immediate reward. They'll call it foolishness. They'll call it a waste of time. But what they fail to realize is that every great achievement begins as invisible work. The roots grow underground before the tree ever touches the sky. What looks like nothing to them is actually everything. And if you stop now, if you let their disbelief convince you to quit, the roots will never break the surface, the tree will never be born, the world will never know what you were capable of. The harsh truth is this: nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to hand you belief, encouragement, or validation. Waiting for others to believe in you is like waiting for the wind to blow in your favor. You may wait forever. The wind doesn't decide the direction of your life. If you let disbelief control you, you will drift aimlessly, anchored by their doubts. But if you take control, if you keep going, regardless of the storm around you, you will chart your own course. Success is not a gift from others, it is a declaration you make with your action. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling. She was rejected by 12 different publishers. 12 people told her the story in her heart was worthless, unpublishable, not good enough. Imagine if she had listened. Imagine if she had stopped after the 5th rejection, or the 10th, or the 12th. The world would never have known Harry Potter. Millions of lives would never have been touched. What was the difference between her and countless writers who gave up? She kept going, even when nobody believed. She refused to silence her own belief. That is the pattern you must follow. You may be rejected, dismissed, ridiculed, but none of it matters if you continue forward. Rejection is not a verdict, it is a test of how much you want it, a test of whether you are willing to endure isolation, to walk the lonely road while others mock or doubt. If you cannot endure being misunderstood, you will never reach greatness. The road to extraordinary is paved with misunderstanding. People will laugh until they are forced to applaud. People will doubt until they are forced to believe. But that shift only happens if you refuse to stop. The reason so many give up is because they crave proof before persistence. They want results before effort. They want applause before discipline. But that is not how the world works. First you work, then the world notices. First you persist, then they believe. First you endure, then they respect. The order cannot be reversed. The world never believes first. That is your burden to carry. You must believe when nobody else does. You must carry the torch through the dark, trusting that one day the light will break. Think about the Wright brothers, 2 bicycle mechanics with no formal education, no resources, no backing from respected institutions. Experts dismissed them, scientists mocked them, even the newspapers ridiculed their vision of flight, but they kept going. They tested, they failed, they tried again, they endured scorn and laughter until the day their machine lifted into the air. Suddenly the same world that doubted them called them pioneers. What changed? Nothing but persistence. They held their belief when nobody else would. That is why we remember their names. You will face the same trial. There will be days when your progress is invisible, when your effort feels wasted, when the silence of disbelief around you is deafening. In those moments your mind will tempt you to quit. It will whisper, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not good enough. But this is the precise moment you must rise, because quitting now does not prove them right. It only ensures they are never proven wrong. Every step you take, even unseen, even unrecognized, is building something greater than you can imagine. Keep walking. Understand this. Belief is not a gift you wait for. It is a responsibility you cultivate. You are the guardian of your dream. You cannot hand it over to the opinions of others. If you let them decide whether you continue, you have already surrendered. The dream will die not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked persistence, and persistence is the one thing nobody can take from you. They can doubt you, mock you, reject you, but they cannot force you to stop. That choice is yours alone. So when nobody believes in you, treat it as fuel. Let their disbelief sharpen your resolve. Let their silence remind you to work in silence. Let their laughter echo in your mind until it transforms into your drive. One day, the very people who doubted you will tell others they knew you all along. They will rewrite history in their minds, pretending they saw your greatness from the beginning, and you will smile, because you will know the truth that the only reason you are standing in victory is because you refused to stop when nobody else could see it. The road is lonely, the nights are long, the weight of doubt is heavy, but the prize belongs to those who keep moving. Every legend you admire, every success story you repeat, every hero you look up to once stood exactly where you are now, in a place where nobody believed, and the reason their names live on is simple: they didn't stop, neither should you. When nobody believes in you, it is easy to feel invisible. You put in the hours, you pour yourself into the work, yet the world moves on as if you don't exist. You see others being celebrated, supported, lifted up, while your efforts remain unnoticed. That silence can be suffocating. It makes you question whether your work matters at all. But here's the truth you must never forget. Silence does not mean failure. Silence is the soil where greatness takes root. Recognition comes last. The work comes first. If you are waiting to be seen before you act, you will never act. You must be willing to grind in obscurity, trusting that the day will come when the world can no longer ignore what you have built. Think of the artist who paints in a dimly lit studio for years with no gallery to showcase his work, or the athlete who trains in the shadows of empty gyms long before the spotlight finds them, or the writer who fills notebook after notebook without a single reader. These people all share one thing: the discipline to keep going when no one is watching. That is the crucible of greatness. What you do in the dark determines what the world will see in the light. If you abandon the process in silence, you will never experience the applause in the end. But if you endure, the silence becomes your advantage, your training ground, your secret weapon. The truth is, most people cannot handle being unseen. They crave validation so much that the lack of it breaks them. They post, they share, they shout for attention, hoping someone will notice, and when no one does, they stop. But understand this: greatness is not built on being noticed. It is built on being relentless. The people who eventually rise are the ones who kept showing up when no one cared. They didn't need permission to continue. They didn't need an audience to practice. They didn't need applause to persist. Their belief was enough. Take Vincent van Gogh. During his lifetime, he sold almost none of his paintings. To the world, he was a failure, a madman, a wasted talent. He died believing no one valued his work. Yet today, his art is priceless, his name immortal. What changed? Not his skill, not his dedication. The world changed. It caught up to what he had been creating all along. His tragedy is that he never saw the validation he deserved. But his legacy teaches us this: the world may not believe in you today, but that does not diminish the value of your work. Your responsibility is not to be validated. Your responsibility is to create, to persist, to endure. You must stop seeking proof before persistence. You cannot wait for the world to clap before you continue. Think of a seed buried in the ground for weeks, maybe months. It lies unseen. Above the soil, it looks like nothing is happening, but beneath, roots are spreading, strength is being built. If you dig it up because you see no progress, you kill the very thing that was growing. Your dream is the same. Just because the world cannot see it yet does not mean it isn't growing. Keep watering, keep tending, keep believing, because one day it will break through the surface, and then the same people who doubted you will marvel at what you've grown. Disbelief will always surround you in the beginning. It is human nature to doubt what is unproven. People don't believe in what they cannot see. They believe in results, and results only come after persistence. That is why your job is not to convince them with words. Your job is to convince them with results. Don't argue with doubt. Don't waste your energy defending your vision to those who cannot see it. Pour that energy into building it, when it's real, when it's undeniable, when it stands before them in flesh and form. They will have no choice but to believe. But until then, your silence is your shield, your persistence, your weapon. Consider Elon Musk in the early days of SpaceX. People laughed at the idea of a private company building rockets. They called it reckless, impossible, a billionaire's fantasy. He was mocked in the press, dismissed by experts, doubted by governments. Yet he kept going. He poured his resources, his energy, his belief into the project. 3 rockets exploded in failure. The world was certain he was finished, but he launched again, and this time it worked. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The same voices that ridiculed him now call him a visionary. Did their opinions change first? No. The results changed first. That is the pattern. Keep going until the work speaks so loudly they cannot ignore it. The lonely road is not a punishment, it is preparation. Walking alone builds strength that applause can never give you. It teaches you resilience, focus, and conviction. When nobody believes in you, you are forced to decide whether your belief is strong enough to carry you, and if you endure that trial, nothing can shake you. Because when the world finally does notice, when the recognition comes, it will not define you. You will already know who you are. You will already have proven it to yourself. That is the unshakable foundation of true success. So embrace the silence, embrace the disbelief, use it to sharpen your resolve. Let them doubt, let them laugh, let them dismiss you. None of it matters, because you know the truth. Belief is not given, it is earned. Respect is not handed out, it is built, and the only way to build it is to keep going. Every step you take in obscurity is one step closer to inevitability. Every hour you invest unseen is a down payment on your future, and one day, when the world finally opens its eyes, you will not need to say a word. Your results will speak for you. Doubt has a strange power. It creeps into your mind disguised as logic, disguised as reason, disguised as the voice of people you love and trust. They'll say things like, "I just don't want to see you get hurt," or "Be realistic, maybe this isn't for you." And because those voices come from people close to you, they cut deeper than the criticism of strangers. You start to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you're chasing something impossible, but here's the reality. You cannot expect others to see a vision that was never given to them. Your dream was placed in you, not in them. Their lack of belief doesn't mean you're wrong. It means they weren't meant to see it yet. That is why you must keep going, even when the doubt comes from those you thought would support you. History is full of men and women who had to walk alone. Albert Einstein was dismissed as slow and incapable by his teachers. Nikola Tesla was mocked, ridiculed, and left in obscurity for much of his life. Rosa Parks was told her act of defiance was useless, that nothing would change. Yet each of them held on to their belief even when society, experts and family refused to understand. If they had yielded to those voices, the world would be poorer, dimmer, smaller. What they teach us is clear. The disbelief of others is not a prophecy, it is background noise. And the stronger your vision, the more noise you will face. The mistake most people make is trying to win everyone over. They explain, defend, argue, hoping to convince others to believe. But the more you try to convince, the more you drain yourself. Belief is not something you demand from others. It is something you demonstrate through results. Every second you spend trying to prove yourself with words is a second stolen from the work that will one day prove itself. Stop talking. Stop begging for validation. Let your results be your voice. Let your persistence be your proof. The truth is, no one owes you belief. Not your parents, not your friends, not your colleagues, not society. The only person who owes you belief is you. If you wait for external belief before you act, you will never act. The path requires that you become your own source of encouragement. It requires you to say, "I will keep going," even when no one claps, even when no one understands. This self-belief is not arrogance. It is survival. Without it, You will crumble under the weight of other people's doubt. With it, you will turn that weight into resistance training, building strength every time they push against you. Think of Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of the greatest leaders in history, he faced defeat after defeat, business failures, election losses, public criticism. People told him to give up on politics, that he wasn't cut out for leadership, yet he kept going, year after year, setback after setback. He persisted. Eventually, he rose to the presidency and led a nation through its darkest hour. What if he had listened? What if he had stopped? The lesson is clear. The disbelief of others is only final if you accept it as your own. But disbelief doesn't just come in words. It comes in silence, in indifference, in the absence of support. You share your progress and no one reacts. You talk about your dream, and they change the subject. That silence can sting worse than criticism, because it feels like you don't matter. But remember this, silence is not the absence of progress. It is the quiet before the breakthrough. The world is watching, even when it pretends not. And the day you succeed, the silence will turn into applause, so loud it will echo in the same voices that once ignored you. Don't give up in the silence. The silence is part of the process. You must accept that loneliness is the price of vision. Not everyone can walk with you. Not everyone can see what you see. That is why leaders are rare, why pioneers are few, why greatness belongs to the stubborn few who refuse to quit. The loneliness you feel now is proof you are on the right path. If everyone believed in you, you would not be doing something extraordinary. You would be doing something ordinary. The doubt surrounding you is confirmation that you are pursuing something beyond their imagination. Wear that doubt as a badge of honor. It means you are building what others cannot yet see. Imagine climbing a mountain alone. The air gets thinner, the path steeper, the rocks sharper. At the base, the crowd gathers, shouting that you'll never make it. Some laugh, some shake their heads, some turn away, but you climb anyway, step by step, breath by breath, mile by mile, you climb. And one day, you stand at the peak, looking down at the same crowd who doubted you. They see you now, they believe now, but the belief came too late to matter, because you already knew, long before they did, that you would make it. That is the picture you must hold in your mind every time doubt surrounds you. So what do? When no one believes in you, you become unstoppable. You stop seeking permission and start creating results. You let their doubt fuel you, not stop you. You accept the loneliness as a test of your strength. You embrace the silence as preparation for the roar of victory. And most importantly, you keep moving, step by step, even when the path is steep, even when the world is against you. Because in the end, their disbelief cannot stop you. Only your surrender can. And if you refuse to surrender, if you keep going, nothing can keep you from the summit.
Every time you decide to keep going, you separate yourself from the majority. Most people quit the moment resistance shows up. They set out with enthusiasm, but the first sign of struggle makes them retreat. They say, it's too hard, or maybe it's not meant for me. And in that moment, they hand their dreams over to fear. That's why persistence is rare. It's not that success is impossible. It's that most people lack the endurance to keep moving through disbelief, doubt, and difficulty. If you can endure what others cannot, you will achieve what others never will. The price of greatness is persistence when no one else believes. If you can pay that price, the reward is inevitable. Think about Henry Ford. Before the automobile became the standard of modern life, Ford faced ridicule for even suggesting that ordinary families could own a car. People mocked him, calling his ideas unrealistic. Investors pulled out. Experts dismissed him, but Ford's belief was greater than their doubt. He built, tested, failed, and rebuilt. He faced bankruptcy, criticism, and rejection. Yet he kept going. In time, he didn't just build a car. He built an industry, and the same world that mocked him now drives the machines he imagined. That is the power of persistence. Doubt may surround you in the present, but persistence ensures belief in the future. Most people think success comes from being talented or lucky, but talent without persistence burns out. Luck without persistence fades. The world is full of gifted people who never finished, who gave up when it got hard, who allowed disbelief to drown their vision. What separates the extraordinary from the forgotten is not brilliance,
it is stamina. The willingness to keep showing up after failure, after rejection, after everyone else has stopped. Persistence turns ordinary men and women into legends, and that persistence begins with one decision: I will keep going, even if nobody believes in me. The problem is, doubt doesn't just come from others, it also comes from within. When you've worked for months or years without results, your own mind becomes your enemy. It whispers, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not cut out for this. That inner doubt is the most dangerous of all, because it comes in your own voice. But you must remember, the mind believes what you feed it. If you feed it discouragement, it will grow weak. If you feed it persistence, it will grow strong. That's why self-belief is a daily choice. Every morning you wake up, you must decide again to keep going. Not because it's easy, but because quitting guarantees failure, and persistence guarantees possibility. There's a story of a miner who dug for years searching for gold. He spent countless days, countless nights, breaking rocks, moving earth, sweating, and straining. After years with nothing to show, he quit. Another man came along, picked up where he left off, and within 3 feet struck one of the richest veins ever discovered. The first miner wasn't lacking effort. He wasn't lacking skill. He was lacking persistence. He quit just before the breakthrough. That is the tragedy of so many lives. They stop just short of success. Don't let that be your story. The gold you seek may be just a little further, but you'll never know if you stop digging. The world often teaches us to look for immediate rewards, quick success, instant recognition, but lasting achievement never comes instantly. It is forged in seasons of obscurity, of effort without applause. Think of bamboo. For years after planting, nothing appears above the soil. People walk past, seeing nothing, assuming nothing is happening, but underground, roots are spreading, growing deep and strong. Then, suddenly in a matter of weeks, bamboo shoots skyward, growing faster than almost any other plant. That's how dreams work. You grind in silence, unseen, until one day the growth explodes, and the same people who doubted you are left wondering how you rose so quickly. The truth is, you didn't rise suddenly, you were growing the whole time. You just refused to stop. When nobody believes in you, persistence becomes your weapon. Every day you move forward, you weaken the power of their doubt. Every action you take, no matter how small, proves them wrong in advance. They may not see it now, but you are building momentum. Momentum is invisible at first, but once it begins, it becomes unstoppable. Like a snowball rolling down a hill, your persistence gathers power until it cannot be denied. The world cannot argue with results, and results only come to those who refuse to stop. Ask yourself this: what would happen if you simply refused to quit? No matter the disbelief, no matter the setbacks, no matter the silence, what if you kept going until success had no choice but to appear? Most people fail, not because they lacked the ability, but because they surrendered too soon. Persistence guarantees that failure is never final. The only way you truly fail is by giving up. If you keep moving, keep adjusting, keep showing up, you will eventually break through. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but persistence makes success inevitable. So when the voices of doubt rise around you, when the silence of indifference weighs heavy, when your own mind whispers that maybe you should stop, remember this: the world only believes in finished stories. Your story isn't finished yet. Keep going. Write the next page. Take the next step. Swing the pick one more time. Because persistence is not just a habit, it is the bridge between disbelief and destiny. And if you keep walking that bridge, sooner or later, you will arrive where others said you never could. There will come a point when the disbelief around you feels louder than your own voice. Every conversation reminds you of your isolation. Every look, every dismissive smile, every polite nod that hides doubt behind it becomes another weight pressing down on your spirit. And you will be tempted to lower your head, to shrink your dream, so it fits inside their expectations. That temptation is powerful, but it is also deadly, because the moment you adjust your vision to make others comfortable, you kill the very thing that makes it worth chasing. You were not given your dream so you could water it down. You were given your dream so you could carry it full strength, even when no one else can handle it. To keep going when nobody believes,
You must guard your vision like treasure. The truth is, people doubt what they cannot measure. If they can't see the blueprint, if they can't calculate the numbers, if they can't imagine the outcome, they will say it cannot be done. But remember this: the greatest achievements in history were all things that couldn't be measured at the start. Flight, electricity, communication across oceans. Each of these began as ideas too large for ordinary minds to grasp. The dreamers who pursued them weren't relying on external belief, they were relying on their inner conviction. That conviction carried them through ridicule and rejection. That same conviction must carry you. Conviction is not a feeling, it is not the fleeting spark of motivation that comes and goes with your mood. Conviction is a decision, it is a line drawn in your soul that says, I will not stop until this is done. When nobody believes in you, conviction becomes the anchor that keeps you steady. Without it, every doubt will sway you, every rejection will break you. But with conviction, you become unshakable. Their disbelief may surround you like waves, but you stand like a rock in the storm, unmoved because you know who you are and what you are building. Think of Colonel Harland Sanders, the man who founded Kentucky Fried Chicken. At 65 years old, after losing his job, he decided to pursue his dream of selling his fried chicken recipe. He traveled across the country, pitching his idea to restaurants. Over 1,000 people rejected him. 1,000. They told him it wouldn't work, that nobody wanted it, that he was wasting his time, but he kept going. On the 1,001st attempt, someone finally said yes. That single yes built an empire. What if he had stopped at rejection number 50, or number 500, or 999? The world would never know his name. His story teaches us this: you don't need everyone to believe, you just need to keep going until the right one does. That is the danger of quitting too soon. You may be one step away from the opportunity that changes everything. You may be on the edge of the breakthrough you've been working for, but if you surrender to doubt, you will never see it. The disbelief of others is not proof of your failure, it is simply the resistance you must push through to reach your success. If the road feels heavy, if the world feels against you, you are not failing, you are progressing. Resistance means you are moving. Doubt means you are on the path to something greater than ordinary minds can comprehend. Sometimes, though, the hardest disbelief to face is your own. You can ignore strangers, you can endure critics, but when your own mind begins to whisper that you aren't good enough, that maybe you're wasting your time, that voice feels impossible to silence. Yet here is the truth: your doubts are they are the echoes of other people's fears, absorbed and repeated in your own head. Your responsibility is not to obey them. Your responsibility is to challenge them. Every time doubt says, you can't, you answer with action, not words, not arguments. Action is the only language that silences doubt, and every step you take becomes evidence that your belief is stronger than your fear. Imagine a runner near the end of a marathon. Exhaustion has set in, his legs are heavy, his lungs are burning, his body is screaming to stop. Around him, some runners are quitting, stepping off the course, others slow to a walk. Spectators are yelling, you don't have to finish, it's okay. But deep inside, something tells him to keep going. One foot forward, then another, each painful step a declaration: I will not stop. That is what persistence looks like. Not glamorous, not easy, but powerful beyond measure, because in that moment, it is no longer about winning the race, it is about proving to himself that nothing, not pain, not doubt, not disbelief can break him. That is the spirit you must carry in your own race. The reality is this: if you keep going long enough, belief will come. The same people who doubted you will look at your progress and say they always knew you'd succeed. They will rewrite history in their minds, erasing their disbelief. But by then, their belief won't matter, because you will already have built the life you envisioned. You will already have crossed the finish line. You will already have proven to yourself what you were capable of. The only belief you ever truly needed was your own. So keep going. Keep walking through the silence, through the rejection, through the laughter, through the nights when you wonder if it's worth it. Keep going when the weight feels unbearable, when the road feels endless, when the world refuses to see what you see. Keep going, because your persistence is the only guarantee that one day they will. And even if they never do, even if the world never applauds, you will know you refused to surrender. You will know you carried your vision to the very end. And that knowledge, That unbreakable proof of your own resilience is worth more than every cheer combined.
Every person who has ever made history walked through the fire of disbelief. They were laughed at, rejected, and abandoned, yet they kept going. That is the thread that connects them all, an unshakable refusal to stop. And here's what you must realize. Disbelief is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Disbelief is confirmation that you are building something uncommon, something rare, something greater than the minds around you can understand. If everyone agreed with you, if everyone supported you, you wouldn't be pursuing something extraordinary, you would be chasing something ordinary. The resistance you feel is proof that your vision is worth it. Most people fold under pressure because they mistake doubt for evidence. They hear you can't so many times, they start to believe it must be true, but repetition does not equal reality. 1,000 voices telling you that you can't still does not make it true. Only your actions decide that. If you take one more step, one more swing, one more shot, you've already proven them wrong in advance. Failure is only final if you quit. As long as you continue, the possibility of success remains alive. You carry that possibility with every action you take, no matter how small, no matter how unnoticed. Look at the story of Soichiro Honda. As a young man, he applied for a job at Toyota and was rejected. The company told him he wasn't good enough. Most would have taken that rejection as a final verdict, but Honda didn't. Instead, he started his own company. In the beginning, people mocked his small shop, his unconventional ideas, his impossible dream. He worked in obscurity, building piece by piece. Decades later, the Honda Motor Company became one of the most successful automobile manufacturers in the world. The very industry that once rejected him was reshaped by his persistence. His story isn't about luck, it's about keeping going when nobody else believes. The truth is, nobody sees the countless hours behind success. They don't see the empty rooms you worked in, the long nights, the sacrifices. They only see the finished product, and then act as if it appeared overnight. That is why you cannot live for their approval. They will never understand the process. They will only recognize the result. You must be willing to work in silence, to push forward without applause, to grind day after day, knowing that one day the results will speak so loudly no one can ignore them. Their disbelief doesn't matter in the process. It only matters that you endure long enough to prove it wrong. There is a hidden gift in being doubted. Doubt forces you to dig deeper, to build strength you didn't know you had. When no one supports you, you learn to support yourself. When no one pushes you, you learn to push yourself. When no one believes, you learn to create belief out of nothing but persistence. That is why the most resilient people often come from the harshest beginnings. They had no choice but to believe in themselves, and that belief became unbreakable, forged in the fire of disbelief. If you are doubted now, count it as training. You are becoming unshakable. Think of a blacksmith hammering steel. Each strike, each spark, each burn of heat is painful to endure, but it is necessary to create a blade strong enough to endure battle. Disbelief is the hammer, rejection is the fire, criticism is the spark, and you are the steel being forged. With each blow you are becoming sharper, stronger, more resilient. If you quit now, you remain unfinished metal, but if you endure the fire, if you withstand the hammer, you emerge as something indestructible. That is the gift hidden inside the doubt of others. It is shaping you into someone unstoppable. You must remind yourself daily that belief is not a requirement for progress. You do not need permission to succeed. You do not need approval to advance. Every step forward is yours to take, regardless of who sees it, who acknowledges it, who claps for it. Think of the pioneers who traveled west across uncharted land, guided by nothing but conviction. No maps, no guides, no guarantees, just a belief that something greater lay ahead. They faced hunger, storms, loneliness, and danger, but they kept going, and because they did, the world expanded. Their persistence built opportunities for generations who came after them. That is the weight of your persistence too. You are not only building for yourself, but for those who will follow in your footsteps. Understand this.
Every time you push forward through disbelief, you are building credibility. The world may not see it yet, but you are stacking evidence brick by brick. And one day, those bricks will form a wall, so undeniable that even the loudest doubters will be silenced. You don't need to win them over now. You don't need to prove anything today. Your persistence is the proof. Every action is a testimony. Every step forward is another piece of evidence in the case for your greatness. One day, the verdict will be clear, but until then, keep laying bricks. So when the world tells you to quit, when the silence of disbelief grows heavy, when your own doubts begin to rise, remember this: you are not defined by their lack of belief, you are defined by your refusal to stop. Each moment you persist, you grow stronger. Each day you endure, you move closer. And though they may not see it, though they may laugh or dismiss or ignore, you are building something they will one day have no choice but to respect. Keep going, keep building, keep climbing, because disbelief cannot destroy you unless you let it. And if you refuse to let it, if you choose persistence over surrender, nothing, no voice, no silence, no rejection can stop what you are becoming. There will come a time when the disbelief turns into pressure, so heavy it feels like carrying the world on your back. You'll wake up exhausted, questioning whether another day of effort is worth it. The voices of doubt will echo louder, not quieter. As you make progress, people will point to your lack of visible results and say, "See, I told you it wouldn't work." That moment is critical, because that is the moment most people quit. They let the weight of disbelief crush their will, but not you, not if you've chosen to keep going, because that exact point, the breaking point, is where breakthroughs are born. The wall that stands before you is not a barrier, it is a threshold. Push through it, and everything changes. Stop there, and you'll never know what waited on the other side. Disbelief does not disappear quickly. It lingers. Even when you begin to achieve small victories, people will say they are accidents, flukes. They will minimize your progress, so they can maintain their sense of being right. Don't waste energy fighting them. Don't argue. Don't try to convince. Every ounce of energy spent defending yourself is energy stolen from your progress. Let them think what they want. While they talk, you move. While they doubt, you act. While they wait for proof, you create it. Action is the only argument you need. Consider the story of Sylvester Stallone. Before Rocky became an iconic film, Stallone was broke, rejected by countless studios, and even told he should give up acting altogether. People laughed at his dream. He was offered money for his script, but only if he agreed not to star in it. He refused, holding on to his vision even when no one believed. He kept pushing, kept fighting, until finally someone gave him the chance. Rocky went on to win Academy Awards and make Stallone a household name. The very people who told him he had no future in acting were forced to watch as the world celebrated him. Why? Because he kept going when disbelief surrounded him. He refused to sell out, refused to surrender, refused to let go of the dream that only he could see. That is the lesson you must be prepared to walk alone. Alone in your vision, alone in your fight, alone in your pursuit. But here's the paradox. The longer you walk alone, the stronger you become. Loneliness trains your spirit. It forces you to rely on your own conviction, instead of leaning on the validation of others. And once you've endured it, once you've proven to yourself that you can keep moving without applause, you become unstoppable. Because if you can walk without support, what could possibly hold you back once support arrives? The loneliness you feel today is the foundation of the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. You must also understand this. The world is built to doubt pioneers. Every system, every tradition, every habit of society resists change. And if your dream threatens to change something, disbelief is the natural response. People doubt not because you are wrong, but because they fear what you represent. Your persistence reminds them of their own complacency. Your courage highlights their own hesitation. Your progress exposes their own excuses. That's why they resist you. That's why they don't believe. It has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with their fear. If you let their fear stop you, you will inherit their mediocrity. But if you push forward, you will inherit your destiny. Imagine a sculptor working with marble. At first, the stone looks like nothing, a rough, unshaped block. People walk by and scoff. What a waste of time. They say, it will never be beautiful. They cannot see what the sculptor sees. They do not believe, because they do not understand. But the sculptor does not argue. He does not waste time convincing them. He keeps chiseling, Day after day, stroke after stroke, slowly, a shape emerges, slowly, beauty reveals itself, and one day, the same people who laughed stand in awe before the finished masterpiece. That is your journey. Right now, all they see is the rough stone, but inside you lies the masterpiece, and only persistence will reveal it. The secret is this: persistence outlasts disbelief. People doubt loudly at the beginning, but their voices fade as your results grow. First, they mock, then they ignore, then they watch, and finally, they applaud. But that cycle only completes if you endure long enough to reach the final stage. If you stop in the mocking stage, all you'll ever hear is laughter. If you quit in the ignoring stage, all you'll ever feel is silence. But if you persist, if you push forward, eventually disbelief transforms into belief, and those who doubted you will tell your story as proof of what persistence can achieve. You may be tired, you may feel beaten down, you may be carrying scars from every rejection, every dismissal, every failure, but remember this: those scars are not signs of defeat, they are signs of survival. They are proof that you endured what others could not, and each scar is preparing you for the day when the disbelief ends, when your results cannot be denied, when your name is spoken with respect. The scars you carry are your evidence that you kept going. Wear them proudly. They are medals earned in the battle of persistence. So keep chiseling, keep running, keep climbing. The disbelief will not vanish overnight, but it will vanish eventually. And when it does, when the world finally sees what you've built, when they finally recognize the masterpiece you've created, you will know it wasn't their belief that carried you there, it was yours. Their disbelief didn't matter. Their silence didn't stop you. Their laughter didn't break you, because you kept going. And that decision, that relentless, unshakable decision, is the reason you will stand where they said you never could.
Every great journey reaches a stage where persistence becomes the only thing holding you together. The early excitement has faded, the applause never came, the disbelief has grown louder, and the results you hoped for seem so far away you wonder if they'll ever appear. This is the valley, the place where most people quit. They stop not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the strength to keep walking through the valley. But if you endure, if you push forward, when everything inside you screams to stop, you will discover that the valley is not the end, it is the passage. On the other side lies the very breakthrough you have been fighting for. The valley is where dreams are tested. Anyone can start when the path is clear and the crowd is cheering. But who can keep moving when the lights are gone and the road feels endless? Who can endure the silence, the loneliness, the doubt? That is the real measure of greatness. Because the valley weeds out the pretenders from the persistent. Those who quit in the valley will forever wonder what might have been. Those who keep going through it will look back one day and realize the valley was the very place where they became unbreakable. Think of Thomas Edison working on the electric light bulb. Failure after failure, thousands of attempts that led nowhere. The world doubted him, mocked him, called him a fool, wasting his life on an impossible dream. But Edison kept walking through his valley. Each failure was not an ending but a lesson. Each setback was a step forward. Eventually the light shone, and the world changed forever. But it wasn't the light bulb itself that defined Edison's greatness. It was his refusal to quit in the valley. Most people want success to come quickly. They want validation early. They want proof without persistence. But the reality is this: the valley exists to test your resolve. If you can be stopped, you will be stopped here. The disbelief of others is magnified in the valley. Your own doubts echo loud. The temptation to quit feels overwhelming. And yet, if you can keep going here, you can keep going anywhere. If you can take another step in the valley, you've already proven yourself stronger than 90% of the world. There's a story of a man who trained for years to become a boxer. His friends doubted him. His family told him to give up. He fought in small, forgotten gyms where no one clapped for him. He endured defeat after defeat, ridicule after ridicule, but he kept training. He kept showing up. Eventually he got his chance at a major fight, and against every odd, against every voice that told him he couldn't, he won. That victory wasn't earned in the spotlight of the ring. It was earned in the valley of obscurity, in the lonely hours when nobody believed in him. His persistence
carried him where doubt never could. That is the truth you must hold close. Success is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the shadows. It is built when you keep writing even though no one reads. When you keep training, even though no one watches. When you keep building, even though no one notices. That lonely persistence is the foundation of every victory. By the time the world finally sees you, you will already know who you are, because you proved it in the silence. Disbelief is loudest right before the breakthrough. That's why so many stop too soon. They misinterpret the intensity of resistance as a sign they should quit, when in reality it is proof they are closer than ever. Resistance grows as you near the summit, because the climb is steeper, the air thinner, the challenge greater. But that is not a signal it is a signal to dig deeper. If you can push through when it is hardest, you will soon find yourself standing where the world said you never would. Think of gold miners striking their richest finds just after years of futility. Think of entrepreneurs whose businesses finally succeed after countless failures. Think of athletes who finally win after years of loss. In each case, the disbelief was heaviest right before the victory, and in each case, persistence was the only difference between quitting in defeat and rising in triumph. So when you find yourself in your own valley, surrounded by silence and doubt, remind yourself this is the test. This is where the weak surrender and the strong are forward. Every step you take here is a declaration that you will not join the ranks of those who gave up. Every step is proof that you are different, that you are stronger, that you will endure until you reach the other side. One day you will look back on this valley with gratitude, not because it was easy, but because it shaped you. The disbelief you faced will become the very fuel that drove you. The silence you endured will become the foundation of your strength, and the victory you achieve will taste sweeter because you know how much it cost. So keep going, through the silence, through the rejection, through the pain, through the valley. Keep walking when nobody walks with you. Keep climbing when nobody believes you can reach the top. Because the valley is not your final destination, it is only the passage. And if you refuse to stop, the passage will lead you to the very summit others said you'd never see. ChatGPT said, "The day will come when your persistence begins to show itself in visible ways. At first it's small, barely noticeable to anyone but you. A result here, a breakthrough there, a sign that all the unseen effort wasn't wasted. To outsiders it looks insignificant. They shrug it off, dismiss it as luck, a coincidence, a temporary win. But you know better. You know what it cost. You know the years of rejection, the nights of doubt, the mornings where getting out of bed felt impossible. You know the loneliness, the silence, the disbelief, and because you endured all of it, you can see the truth. They may not recognize it yet, but this is the beginning of the shift. This is the moment when your persistence starts speaking louder than their doubt. The strange thing is, the world resists belief until it can no longer deny the evidence. People are conditioned to trust what they see, not what they hear. You may have told them 1,000 times what you were building, but until the results stand in front of them, your words mean nothing. That is why you cannot waste your life trying to persuade doubters with explanations. Their ears are deaf to vision, but their eyes will never be able to ignore results. Once the results show, belief follows like a shadow. Consider Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon. He left a secure career to sell books online, a laughable idea at the time. Friends and colleagues told him it would fail. Investors mocked him. Even years into building, Amazon was called a money-losing joke. But Bezos didn't stop. He kept building, kept moving forward, kept enduring the disbelief. And then the results came. Sales skyrocketed, expansion grew, and suddenly the same voices that ridiculed him called him a genius. What changed? Not him, not his vision. The only thing that changed was that the results became too big to ignore. That is the pattern you must accept. At first, you will be invisible. Then, you will be doubted. Then, you will be mocked. Then, you will be ignored. And if you persist long enough, you will finally be recognized. But you cannot skip the steps. Recognition is the reward for persistence, not the prerequisite for it. The applause comes after the performance, never before, and the performance is your daily persistence, the work you do when nobody believes. The mistake many people make is stopping when the results don't come quickly enough. They plant seeds and expect to harvest the next day. But growth doesn't work like that. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. The roots are spreading, the foundation is being built, and then suddenly the harvest comes. But it only comes to those who kept watering long after others. If you give up before the harvest, you will never taste the reward. Persistence is not glamorous. It is slow, repetitive, often invisible, but it is the only way to make results inevitable. Every breakthrough looks impossible right before it happens. That's why the voices of doubt are always loudest near the finish line. People can sense that you are about to prove them wrong, and they will throw everything at you to stop it. That is when you must double down. When you feel the weight the heaviest, when disbelief surrounds you the tightest, remind yourself, it means you are close. Don't stop when you're tired. Don't stop when you're discouraged. Stop only when you are finished. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, nearly 3 decades of silence, rejection, and disbelief. The world outside South Africa doubted he would ever see freedom. The government that held him believed he would die behind bars, but he endured, day after day, year after year. He persisted, and then one day, the prison doors opened. He walked out, not broken, not defeated, but stronger, prepared to lead a nation. The results of his persistence could no longer be ignored. The same world that doubted him now celebrated him, and the lesson is clear. No matter how long it takes, persistence always pays off. Your journey may not demand decades in a cell, but it will demand years in the shadows. It will demand effort no one sees, battles no one understands, sacrifices no one appreciates. And when you finally rise, people will marvel at how quickly it seemed to happen. They'll call you an overnight success, ignoring the years of persistence that made it possible. Smile at that. Let them believe what they want. You'll know the truth. You'll know the nights you nearly quit, the mornings you forced yourself forward, the days you worked in silence, and you'll know that the results they now celebrate were born in those very moments. So when you feel invisible, when you feel forgotten, when you feel crushed under the weight of disbelief, hold fast. Results don't come on your timeline. They come on persistence timeline, and persistence never fails. Every step you take builds pressure beneath the surface, until one day, it erupts in a way no one can deny. Keep walking, keep building, keep enduring, because the day is coming when your results will speak so loudly, the world will have no choice but to believe.
Momentum is a mysterious force. It begins in silence, unnoticed, hidden from the world. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You work, you push, you sacrifice, and the results are small, almost invisible. But persistence has a way of multiplying itself. One action leads to another. One victory opens the door to the next. One breakthrough creates the conditions for more. Slowly, the tide begins to shift. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. This is momentum, the reward for refusing to quit when nobody believed. The thing about momentum is that it doesn't ask for permission. It builds quietly, gathering strength beneath the surface until suddenly it explodes into view. That's why so many people call success overnight. They only see the eruption, not the years of pressure building beneath it. But you know the truth. You know every unseen hour, every lonely step, every day you chose to keep going when others doubted you. Momentum is not magic. It is persistence compounded over time. Look at the story of Serena Williams. Before she became a legend, she was just a girl from Compton with a racket and a dream. Few believed she could dominate a sport controlled by privilege and tradition. She faced doubt, criticism, and barriers at every turn, but she kept training, kept winning small matches, kept showing up. Slowly, the momentum built, victory after victory, breakthrough after breakthrough, until she was unstoppable. The same people who doubted her now speak her name with reverence. What changed? Nothing but persistence turning into momentum. Momentum is proof that belief is not required from others. You don't need them to cheer for you at the start. You don't need them to clap when you're invisible. If you keep moving, momentum will carry you to a place where the results are undeniable. And once that happens, even the loudest doubters will have no choice but to change their tune. They will pretend they always believed,
But you will remember the truth. You walked alone until the momentum carried you beyond their reach. The problem is that most people quit before momentum has a chance to build. They give up in the early stages, when progress feels slow, when disbelief is heavy, when results are scarce. But persistence is like pushing a heavy boulder up a hill. At first it barely moves. You strain, you sweat, you fight, and the boulder resists. But if you keep pushing, inch by inch, step by step, eventually it reaches the tipping point, and once it begins to roll, nothing can stop it. That's momentum. The hardest part is the beginning. The reward is the unstoppable force that comes later. Think of Elon Musk again. His early years at SpaceX and Tesla were filled with failure, ridicule, and doubt. People said his companies were doomed, but he kept pushing, rocket after rocket, test after test, attempt after attempt. The boulder resisted, but he did not quit, and then the momentum came. Successful launches, groundbreaking innovations, growing markets. Suddenly the companies once dismissed as foolish became the very symbols of the future. That's what momentum does. It silences disbelief and amplifies persistence until the world can't help but notice. Here's the secret. Momentum is not given, it is earned. You earn it through discipline, through consistency, through refusing to surrender when the progress feels too small to matter. You earn it by showing up on days when you don't feel like it, by moving forward when nobody claps, by believing when no one else does. Each action is like another push on the boulder. It may not seem significant in the moment, but every push matters. Every push builds pressure. Every push moves you closer to the tipping point. Momentum is also dangerous to those who doubt you, because once it begins, it grows beyond their control. They cannot stop it, cannot contain it, cannot deny it. They will be forced to watch as the very thing they dismissed takes over. That is why you must never stop in the early stages, because the moment you do, the boulder rolls back. But if you endure, if you persist long enough to reach momentum, your victory becomes inevitable. Think of your own journey. Imagine all the effort you've already poured in, all the nights you refused to quit, all the steps you've taken through doubt and disbelief. None of it is wasted. Every single one has been a push building pressure, preparing momentum. Even if you can't see it yet, it is growing beneath the surface, and the day will come when the weight shifts, when the boulder begins to roll, when the progress accelerates faster than you ever imagined. That day belongs only to those who refuse to quit. So keep pushing, keep walking, keep grinding. When nobody believes, when progress feels invisible, when the weight seems unbearable, remind yourself this is the stage before momentum, this is the proving ground. And if you keep going, if you endure a little longer, you will reach the point where your persistence ignites momentum, and from there, nothing, no doubt, no critic, no disbelief will be able to stop you. Because once momentum arrives, the same voices that doubted you will be drowned out by the sound of your progress, and you will know it wasn't their belief that carried you here. It was yours. It was your persistence, your endurance, your refusal to stop. And that, more than anything, is what makes you unstoppable. Recognition is a strange thing. It arrives late, long after the work has been done, long after the hours have been invested, long after the nights of doubt and the mornings of struggle. At first, nobody sees you, then they dismiss you, then they question why you even bother. And yet, if you keep going, if you endure, through the silence and the ridicule, a day comes when their tone changes. They begin to notice the results. They begin to whisper your name. They begin to realize that maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. Recognition does not come when you ask for it. It comes when you no longer need it. The irony of recognition is that it always feels sudden to the world, but never to you. They will say you came out of nowhere, that your success happened overnight. But you will know the truth, that there were no overnight victories, only years of invisible persistence. You will remember the nights you wanted to quit, the days when no one believed, the countless times you had to carry yourself with nothing but raw willpower. To them it looks easy. To you it feels like survival, but that's the way it always is. People celebrate the harvest, but rarely acknowledge the years of planting. Think of Maya Angelou. Before the world celebrated her as one of the greatest poets and voices of her generation, She endured years of rejection and doubt. Publishers turned her down. Critics dismissed her. She was told her words would never matter, but she kept writing. She kept going, even when nobody believed, and eventually, the world could no longer ignore the power of her voice. Today, her work is studied, quoted, and remembered. Recognition came, but only because she refused to stop when disbelief surrounded her. Recognition is never the beginning. It is always the reward at the end of persistence. That is why you must stop craving it early. If you chase applause too soon, you will sabotage yourself. You will bend your dream to fit the approval of others. You will dilute your vision to make it palatable, and in doing so, you will lose the very strength that made it worth pursuing. True recognition comes only when you stand firm, when you refuse to shrink, when you keep building exactly as you see it, even when no one else does. Then, and only then, does the world recognize what you have created. The mistake many people make is quitting, because recognition doesn't arrive quickly. They post their work once, share their dream once, attempt their vision once, and when nobody claps, they retreat. But greatness does not respond to a single attempt, it responds to relentless pursuit. Recognition is reserved for those who show up day after day, who fight through silence, who endure through doubt. If you are willing to keep going without recognition, you are destined to receive it one day, but if you demand it too soon, you will never see it at all. Recognition also reveals the truth about disbelief. When success finally arrives, those who doubted you will suddenly change their story. They will say they always believed. They will claim they saw your potential from the start. They will rewrite history in their minds to protect their pride. Let them. Their story does not matter. What matters is that you remember the truth. Remember who doubted you. Remember who ignored you. Remember that you walked alone. And most importantly, remember that you did not need them to believe. The recognition is sweet, but the real reward is knowing you built it without their approval. Think of Oprah Winfrey, fired from her early television job, told she wasn't fit for broadcasting, dismissed as someone who would never succeed in the media world. If she had stopped there, the story would have ended in obscurity, but she kept going, she persisted, and when her breakthrough came, when recognition finally arrived, she didn't just succeed, she redefined an entire industry. The same people who once doubted her became the ones quoting her name as an example of vision and determination. Recognition turned their disbelief into silence. Recognition is powerful not because it validates you, but because it confirms what you already knew. You don't need the world to tell you that you were capable. You already proved it to yourself. Every time you kept going in the dark. You don't need their applause to feel worthy. You earned your worth on the days when you worked with nothing but your own belief. Recognition is not the source of your strength. It is the echo of it, and here is the truth. Once recognition comes, you will realize it was never about them, it was always about you. About proving to yourself that you could endure, that you could persist, that you could carry your dream, all the way to the end. Their recognition may bring applause, but your persistence brings transformation. That is the greater reward. That is the victory nobody can take away from you. So when recognition finally finds you, accept it humbly, but never forget the road that brought you here. Never forget the silence, the laughter, the disbelief. Never forget the nights when nobody believed in you, and you chose to keep going anyway. Because in the end, the recognition is not the prize is who you became. When nobody believed, the prize is the unshakable strength you forged in the fire of doubt. Recognition is simply the world's delayed applause for the performance you already gave.
There comes a moment when the recognition you fought so hard for transforms into something greater. Your persistence begins to inspire others. The same people who once doubted you, who whispered that you were wasting your time, now look at your journey differently. They start to wonder if maybe they too could endure, maybe they too could pursue their dreams, maybe they too could rise above disbelief. You become living proof that it is possible, and in that moment your story ceases to be just about you. It becomes a torch, a light for others still walking in the darkness you once knew so well. This is the quiet power of persistence. It doesn't just create results for you, it builds belief in those who had none. Your refusal to stop when nobody believed becomes the example someone else needs when nobody believes in them. They see your scars, your struggles, your victories, and they realize disbelief is not a wall,
It's just an illusion. You've torn down the lie for them. You've shown them the path. And though they may not tell you, your journey has planted seeds of courage in their hearts. Think of Jackie Robinson. When he broke the color barrier in baseball, he endured hatred, insults, rejection, and disbelief on a scale most of us will never face. Yet he persisted. He kept showing up, kept playing, kept proving through his performance that no amount of prejudice or doubt could hold him back. In doing so, he didn't just succeed personally, he opened the door for generations after him. His persistence became inspiration, his courage became proof, and the disbelief that once tried to crush him became the very stage that displayed his greatness to the world. This is what happens when you keep going long enough. The people who doubted you begin to respect you. The people who laughed begin to listen. And beyond that, the people who are struggling begin to find hope in you. They see someone who walked through the same valley they're in, who faced the same disbelief they're facing, and they realize they are not alone. Your journey whispers to them, if I can keep going, so can you. And sometimes, that whisper is enough to keep them moving one more day. It's important to understand, though, that influence doesn't come from preaching. It doesn't come from lecturing others about persistence. It comes from living it. People don't follow words, they follow example. They don't trust speeches, they trust scars. Your influence is not in what you say, but in what you've endured and who you've become because of it. Every time you refused to quit, you were writing a chapter in a story that others can now read for strength. You don't have to force, you simply have to keep being relentless. The story will tell itself. Think of Malala Yousafzai. She faced disbelief, violence, and even attempts to silence her voice permanently. She could have given up. No one would have blamed her, but she kept going. And today, her story inspires millions, not because she told them to keep going, but because she lived it. Her persistence became the foundation of her influence. That is the truth you must hold close. If you keep going long enough, your persistence will echo beyond your own life. The beautiful irony is that the same voices that once told you it was impossible will begin to use your story as proof that nothing is impossible. The same people who laughed will now quote you. The same people who dismissed you will now tell others they always believed in you. Let them rewrite the story if they want, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you know the truth. They didn't believe, but you did, and because you believed, now they do. Influence is not about power, it's about presence. It's about the undeniable presence of someone who would not be broken, who would not stop, who would not surrender. That presence lingers, it changes people, it challenges them to face their own disbelief, to question their own excuses, to rise above their own limits. That is the gift of persistence. It multiplies. It begins with one person refusing to quit, and ends with countless others finding the courage to keep going themselves. But influence also carries responsibility. Once you've proven that persistence works, once others look to you as an example, you cannot shrink back. You cannot forget the valley you walked through. You cannot pretend it was easy. You must tell the truth, that it was hard, that you doubted yourself, that you felt alone. Because in that honesty lies the real power, to inspire. People don't need the illusion of perfection. They need the reality of persistence. They need to see that you were broken but kept moving, that you were doubted but kept building, that you were tired but kept walking. That truth is what gives them strength. So keep going, not just for you now but for the ones watching silently, hoping someone will prove to them that it can be done. Keep going for the ones who need to borrow your belief until they find their own. Keep going for the ones who will never tell you how much your story matters, but who will carry it with them as fuel for their own fight. Because your persistence is bigger than you. It is bigger than your dream, bigger than your success. It is a legacy of belief in the face of disbelief. And one day when you see someone else rise, when you see them endure, when you see them succeed against all odds, you'll recognize something in them. You'll see the same fire you carried. You'll see your own story reflected in there. And you'll know that because you kept going when nobody believed in you, you gave someone else the courage to do the same. That is the highest reward persistence can give. Not just your own victory, but the victories of those who come after you. The final stages of persistence feel different. By now the world may have begun to acknowledge you, recognition may have arrived, and influence may have begun to spread. But even here the memory of those early days lingers. You remember the silence, the disbelief, the ridicule. And it's important that you do, because forgetting those days makes you arrogant, but remembering them makes you unstoppable. You didn't climb this far to let pride weaken you. You climbed this far because you never forgot what it felt like when nobody believed. That memory is fuel. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you hungry, and it ensures you never take your progress for granted. The temptation now is to relax, to stop pushing as hard because you've proven the doubters wrong, because you've gained recognition, because you've built momentum. But persistence is not something you switch on and off. It is a way of life. If you stop here, if you let comfort dull your hunger, you risk losing the very fire that carried you through disbelief. The world is filled with stories of people who rose to success only to fall back into mediocrity because they stopped doing the very thing that made them great. Do not make that mistake. Remember the valley, remember the silence, remember the disbelief. Let those memories keep you sharp. Greatness is not a single victory. It is persistence applied again and again, in every stage, in every season. The world will celebrate your achievements, but you must keep building as if no one is watching. You must keep going as if disbelief still surrounds you, because in truth, it always will. There will always be new doubters, new critics, new voices, saying it cannot be done. Each new level of success brings with it new levels of resistance, but you already know the secret. Resistance is proof of progress. Disbelief is proof you are pushing boundaries. And the same persistence that carried you through before will carry you through again. Think of Michael Jordan. Even after becoming one of the greatest athletes in history, he was doubted when he tried to return to basketball after retirement. Critics said his time was over, that his best days were behind him. But Jordan's persistence didn't end with success. He came back and once again proved the world wrong. His story shows us that persistence is not about reaching one peak. It's about climbing every peak that stands before you, no matter how many there are. Persistence must become your identity. When people think of you, they should think of someone who does not stop, someone who does not quit, someone who cannot be broken by disbelief. Because the truth is, disbelief never fully disappears. Even when the majority begins to applaud you, there will always be those who resist, those who criticize, those who hope to see you fail. That's why you must never tie your journey to their approval. You must walk with the same determination you had when no one believed in you. Their applause is temporary, your persistence is permanent. The higher you climb, the lonelier it becomes. At the top, the crowd thins out. Few understand the weight you carry, the sacrifices you make, the responsibility you shoulder. That loneliness can feel overwhelming. But remind yourself, you've been here before. You know how to walk alone. You know how to keep going when nobody believes. That same strength that carried you through obscurity will carry you through the height. In fact, the loneliness at the top is not much different from the loneliness at the bottom. The difference is, now you know how to endure it. And here lies the deeper truth. The persistence you've built has transformed you. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. Back then, disbelief shook you. Now disbelief fuels you. Back then, silence discouraged you. Now silence strengthens you. Back then, doubt felt like a wall. Now doubt feels like a door. Every step you've taken, every obstacle you've endured, every moment you chose to keep going, has not just brought you closer to your dream, it has reshaped who you are. You are no longer just chasing success. You are becoming unbreakable. The legacy of persistence is not the trophies, the applause, or even the influence. The true legacy is the person you become in the process. Someone who cannot be stopped by disbelief, who cannot be broken by rejection, who cannot be silenced by failure. Someone whose very existence is proof that persistence beats everything. That transformation is worth more than recognition, worth more than success, worth more than applause, because when you have become unbreakable, nothing in life can defeat you. And yet the story is not finished. There is still one step left, one decision that remains the most important of all. The decision you faced at the beginning is the same decision you will face at the end. Will you keep going, even when nobody believes, even now with recognition, influence and success? The answer must still be yes, because persistence is not a single act, it is a lifetime commitment. And those who choose it, those who embrace it fully, leave behind a legacy that disbelief can never erase. So as you stand here, Looking back on how far you've come, remember that the journey is not just about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about showing the world, and more importantly yourself, that no amount of doubt, no amount of silence, no amount of disbelief can stop a person who refuses to quit. That is your story. That is your power. And as long as you breathe, as long as you rise each day, as long as you take one more step, that story will never end.
This is where it all comes together. Every moment you wanted to quit, every time you questioned yourself, every day you kept going with no proof it would be worth it. This is the point where you finally see what it all meant. Because persistence was never just about reaching a goal, it was about becoming the kind of person who refuses to stop, no matter what. You have walked through doubt, through rejection, through failure, through silence, through disbelief. And you are still here. That is your victory. That is your proof. The world is full of people who started strong and gave up when it got hard. People who had dreams but let disbelief kill them. People who waited for permission, for applause, for perfect conditions, and never moved. But you were different. You chose to keep going, not because it was easy, not because you were sure, but because you decided that quitting was not an option. You kept showing up, you kept pushing, you kept building, and now everything has changed. Not because the world believed in you, but because you believed in yourself when no one else would. And even now, after everything you've overcome, the world may still doubt you. There will always be someone who doesn't believe, someone who questions your success, someone who says you got lucky. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them underestimate you, because you no longer need their belief. You never did. You've built something stronger than their approval. You've built unshakable persistence. And with that, you can do anything. Think about the long nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices no one saw. Think about the times you were exhausted, discouraged, and tempted to stop, but didn't. Those were the moments that built you, not the victories, not the applause. The struggle built you, the pain shaped you, the silence forged you. And now you stand here, not because you were the most talented, not because you had the most support, but because you refused to give up. That is what makes you unstoppable. You must understand that your story matters. It matters not just because of what you achieved, but because of what you endured. There are people right now who are on the edge of quitting. People who feel invisible, forgotten, and lost. People who are hearing the same doubts you once heard. They need to see someone who kept going. They need to know it's possible. And when they see you, your scars, your story, your strength, they will find the courage to keep going too. You become the proof they were waiting for. This is why persistence is bigger than your dream. It's bigger than your success. It's a message to the world that belief is not a requirement, that support is not a guarantee, that silence does not mean failure. It's a message that even when nobody believes in you, you can still win. And when you do, your victory echoes. It echoes in the hearts of those still fighting, still climbing, still believing in something no one else can see. Your story becomes their strength. You must never forget that the choice is always yours. No one can stop you unless you let them. No one can define you unless you accept their definition. No one can make you quit unless you hand them the pen and let them write your ending. But you haven't done that. You've held the pen the entire time. You've written every chapter, and you've proven that even when nobody believes in you, you can still create something extraordinary. So keep writing, keep building, keep showing up. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because somewhere out there someone is watching you, even if they don't say it. Someone is drawing strength from your persistence. Someone is deciding to keep going because they saw that you did. And one day, they will tell their story. They will say, I almost quit, but then I saw someone who didn't, and it changed everything. That is the legacy of persistence. It doesn't end with you, it begins with you. Now take a deep breath. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've endured, and realize this. The world didn't believe in you, and it didn't matter, because you believed, and that belief carried you through everything. You didn't wait for permission, you didn't wait for applause, you didn't wait for perfect timing.
You acted, you persisted, you kept going, and now you are living proof that nothing can stop someone who refuses to quit. And if you ever find yourself facing a new challenge, a new doubt, a new wave of disbelief, remember what you've already survived. Remember that you are not starting from zero, you are starting from strength. You've already done the impossible, you've already proven them wrong. You've already walked through fire and made it out stronger, so whatever comes next, face it with the same persistence that got you here, because now you know the truth. You don't need them to believe, you just need to keep going. This is your story, this is your legacy, and it will echo long after the world forgets the names of those who doubted you, because persistence outlives disbelief, always, and as long as you keep going, you are unstoppable, you are unbreakable, you are proof. Now go, keep going, no matter who believes, no matter who doubts, no matter what stands in your way, because the world doesn't need another person who gave up. It needs you relentless, determined, and unshakably committed to the dream no one else could see. You are not done, you are just getting started. Keep going, always.